What's good, y'all? I'm Dolo. I talk about basketball, and we are hours away from the start of the play-in. We are days away from the start of the NBA playoffs. We're finally here. It always feels like between January and March that we're never going to be at this point, and then you blink, and then we're here, and it just, as a basketball fan, it feels really good to be at this point in the season. You know, we finally, not that the regular season doesn't matter, but we finally get to watch some real meaningful basketball. Obviously the table's set. And yeah, let's just go through these predictions. So the Lakers, they got the 10 o'clock game tonight. They play Minnesota. Even with Rudy Gobert and Jaden McDaniels, I don't know if Minnesota was going to be able to win this game. Obviously, Minnesota doesn't have Rudy Gobert because of the Kyle Anderson incident, and they don't have Jaden McDaniels because he was frustrated with something and he punched a wall and he broke his hand or fractured his hand or something like that. Yeah, even with Gobert and McDaniels, though, I don't know if the Timberwolves had a chance to beat the Lakers. And I mean, obviously, it just got harder without Gobert, you know, 3-time Defensive Player of the Year, and they like Jaden McDaniels in Minnesota. I think he's a pretty good defender. They're not going to have those two guys, and I fully anticipate LeBron James and Anthony Davis and D'Angelo Russell, and you know, I anticipate that those boys will get it done tonight. The Heat and the Hawks play. That's the other game. Technically, the Heat and the Hawks are the first game, though. They're the 7:20 game at there's a 7:20 game, and then the Lakers and the Timberwolves are the 10 o'clock game. Miami will probably beat Atlanta tonight. I fully anticipate Jimmy Butler and company, you know, just like how LeBron is going to do Minnesota. I think, you know, Jimmy Butler and Miami are going to do Atlanta the same way. Trae Young has really struggled against Miami, especially in the postseason, but you know, like Jimmy is a tough matchup for Trae, and you know, they just know what the whole team just follows Jimmy. In general, they follow Jimmy, but especially against the Hawks, they just know what to do to get Trae frustrated. They know his tendencies, and to be honest, the Heat just have the better roster. They're just the better organization. You know, they have Jimmy Butler, and the Atlanta Hawks have Trae Young, and that's really what it comes down to. The Hawks don't play really much defense, and the Miami Heat do play defense, and they can light you up from three on any given night. So, you know, I think that the Heat should win this, and they should win it handily. It'll shock me if this is a close game, but you know, I mean, it's sports, it's the NBA, anything can happen. But I anticipate Miami should just smash Atlanta tonight. Probably by like 12, probably by like 10, 12 points. And then the other playing games, Toronto and Chicago. I really don't like the way. This is kind of like an aside, but I'm just really not like a fan of the way that the play-in tournament is. I wish that it was just like one and done. The 7 and the 8 play, the winner of that plays the 2. The 9 and the 10 play, the winner of that plays the 1. Yeah, I don't like how they got this extra game. I mean, I'm sure like the owners love it because obviously money, but I think, I don't know, it just defeats the whole like winning you're in thing that like the NBA tries to push on these like playing commercials and stuff. It's just like, no, actually there's like a weird losers bracket for whatever reason. Like, I don't know. I just never agreed with the structure of the playing tournament, but I guess that's why I don't work for the NBA, you know? Yeah, Toronto and Chicago. I think Chicago Toronto will probably win this. I like Pascal Siakam a lot, and Toronto, excuse me, just plays really solid basketball. You know, they've done enough this year. You know, I mean, they've had a weird season, I guess, to say the least. Nick Nurse, it seems like maybe won't be back. So the air over in Toronto can't be like too great, but you know they've done enough to get to this point, and I just don't know that the Chicago Bulls are like put together. They've been playing better since Beverly, since they acquired Patrick Beverly. They've been playing better. Losing Lonzo Ball was obviously like just the worst, and I feel so bad for Lonzo. Like his season is probably done next year too, and it sucks to see Lonzo have to deal with these reoccurring knee issues, and that was definitely a shot to the Bulls. Losing Lonzo was not good. Even still though, I expected a lot from DeMar DeRozan and Zach LaVine. I mean, I expected at least, they would be 500. The fact that they're below 500 to me is kind of bonkers. But, the Bulls really don't have it's not like the Bulls have like an incredible roster that severely underachieved, but they definitely, and I think their fan base would agree with me, they definitely did. They underachieved to an extent this year. Again, you look at DeMar DeRozan and Zach LaVine, and even without Lonzo Ball, you anticipate that they'll at least be able to get to 500 in the East, but I guess not. That's not the way their season went, and I think they're probably going to end up losing to the Raptors, which means they will drop to play in the final game of the play-in, where they will play the Hawks. And, I mean, it's hard to say, can Trae Young by himself, can he just, like, beat the Bulls? Is he just going to be enough? Like, can he just get, like, 31 and 11 and hit, like, 9 threes, and win the game single-handedly for the Hawks? I don't know. I mean, again, the Bulls are a lot better defensively since they got Patrick Beverly. And, I mean, DeMar DeRozan is, he's who he is. Zach LaVine could score. So, I mean, that game will probably come down to if Trae Young can just hit 9 threes. I don't think the Bulls' three-point shooting is particularly incredible. Trae Young actually hasn't been particularly incredible from 3 this year. I don't even think he shot 35% from 3. If I'm remembering correctly, I think he shot 33.7% from 3 this year. So not a great efficiency year from Trae Young. He's really honestly struggled all year this year. Not like mightily, but I mean it's been a weird efficiency year for Trae Young. You think that bringing in DeJounte Murray, would help open the floor a little bit for Trae and give him a little bit more space to work. But again, that's just not how their season went. But I think Atlanta will probably end up beating Chicago, and so their reward for beating Chicago is that they get to be absolutely massacred by Giannis and the Bucks. And the Heat will play the Celtics, and I anticipate the Heat will probably win 1 game. Maybe they can win 2 games in that series because Jimmy Butler's Jimmy Butler. He's got a lot of heart. I mean, he's a good player. He's been, incredibly efficient this year. I think he averaged like 22 points this year. So, I mean, Jimmy Butler, he's a very willing and ferocious defender on that end, and he could score, and he could lead it, he could lead a team to big victories. So, I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if the Heat maybe ended up winning 2 games, but I definitely think Boston should probably get that in 4 or 5 games. This Brooklyn and Philadelphia matchup is so funny because maybe the matchup isn't funny, but I think Brooklyn is just a hilarious franchise. Like, it just seems like no matter what bad moves they do, they don't really get like punished for it. Like, the trade they did to get Paul Pierce, whatever was left of Paul Pierce and whatever was left of Kevin Garnett, like, they gave up so much to Boston, and that really should have like bankrupted them. to be honest, like they should still be bad, like, from that trade. And then you have the emergence of like guys like D'Angelo Russell, and he goes to Brooklyn after the LA drama, and he kind of reinvents himself, and Karis LeVert, Spencer Dinwiddie, Jared Allen, and then so they have a core, and then they end up with Kevin Durant and Kyrie, and it's like, okay, like that bounce back is crazy. And then they end up with James Harden, and it's like, oh, these dudes are like a legitimate finals contender. And obviously that situation falls apart. James Harden gets hurt. The big three, they never really play together. They almost beat the Bucks. They really took the Bucks to 7 games that won the title that year. Kevin Durant he wears shoes that are a size too big when he plays for whatever reason. And, that situation erodes. Kevin Durant, he goes to Phoenix. Kyrie goes to Dallas. And, you think, like, wow, there's really nobody in Brooklyn. They're probably just going to really, really skid out of the race. And then, lo and behold, the emergence of Mikal Bridges out of seemingly nowhere. And I mean, I always liked Mikal Bridges. I always thought he was like, a good player. But I never pictured Mikal Bridges doing what he did over the last, say, like 17, 18 games of the season. However many games were played after the Durant trade. I feel like Brooklyn is just an organization that they just do really stupid or aggressive things, and then when it doesn't pan out, everybody thinks that, oh, they're going to be bad for at least like 10 years, and then within 4 years they're like right back in the mix for a title, to make a deep playoff run. It's just funny to me how, I don't know, it's funny to me how that situation works out. I definitely think Philly will beat them, though, behind Joel Embiid, behind James Harden, behind Tyrese Maxey. The way that Embiid has been playing this year, I talked about it in my other video, but to me, he's the MVP. And I mean, you just have to hope that James Harden doesn't pull a disappearing act. Those disappearing acts that he's famous for in the playoffs. Embiid, low-key, kinda him too. Like, not to the extent of Harden, but he's another dude who he kind of disappears in the playoffs. Like, last year, I think he only averaged like 23 points in the playoffs. Like, that's just not going to get it done. Especially if, you're Embiid, you have the offensive load that you have on this team. Just averaging 23 in a playoff series is just not going to get it done. That's just really unacceptable for a player of Embiid's stature. But I do think that the Brooklyn Nets are gonna lose. I think that Philly will win. I definitely think Philly probably takes this in like 5 games. Maybe Mikal Bridges has 2 40-point games or whatever. Outside of a miracle, it's hard to believe that Philly doesn't win this in 4 or 5 games. The Knicks and the Cavs is such an interesting series because there is this whole Donovan Mitchell, like, what's the word I want to use? Like, storyline going on that, the Knicks, they really wanted Donovan Mitchell, and then Danny Ainge ends up, literally spiting the ownership of the Knicks and sending him to the Cavs, and this one's gonna sting for New York New York has really been desolate in terms of playoff success for like, I don't even know what they made the playoffs. I think a decade ago was the last time they made the playoffs, like 10 years ago was the last time that the Knicks were relevant in terms of playoff basketball. So, I mean, you know, the Knicks have had to deal with a lot. Ewing, Starks, just I'm sure even the mention of those names is triggering PTSD flashbacks for Knicks for some of the older Knicks fans. Yeah, I still think this is going to be a really good series, though. Jalen Brunson has been playing really well this year. Obviously, he's 26-4-4, if I remember correctly. Emmanuel Quickley is 14-4-4. Maybe I'm pulling that out of my ass, but I'm pretty sure Emmanuel Quickley's 14-4-4. Emmanuel Quickley also probably my pick for Sixth Man of the Year. So you know they got a superstar. He's fully budded into a superstar. Jalen Brunson. They got Sixth Man of the Year. Emmanuel Quickley, R.J. Barrett. He's been good enough. He's been promising. I just don't know if Cleveland gives up a lot of size between Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland, obviously, but they're still such a good defensive team because of Jared Allen. And I mean, Jared Allen is just he's an intelligent defender on the perimeter. He can't really move on the perimeter, but he's, smart. He understands positioning. He's a fantastic paint and rim protector. And then obviously they got, the unicorn, Evan Mobley, who can, protect the rim at an elite level, protect the paint at an elite level. He can switch on all 5 positions. So normally in this situation, you look at Cleveland's backcourt and you just say like, oh, they give up so much size. Like, you can just attack Donovan Mitchell, you can just attack Darius Garland, but you really can't because they're backed up, by their great defensive front court. This series is really hard to pick. Gun to my head, I gotta say Cleveland in 7. If they win it in 6, I wouldn't be too surprised. But I'm gonna give the Knicks the benefit of the doubt. I'll give Jalen Brunson his credit, and I'll say that Brunson is able to push these guys to 7 games. But man, that's gonna be a really, really fantastic series to watch. And then obviously earlier I think I said that the Bucks are just gonna smash. They'll just smash. Who do they play again? They play the 8th seed. All right, so I mean they would play the winner of the 8 and the. No, wait, no. They don't play the winner of the 8 and 7th seed. They play Toronto or Chicago, and I picked Toronto. So yeah, Toronto is just gonna get absolutely just eviscerated by Milwaukee. Giannis has obviously had an MVP year this year. I think that series will be over in 4 games. They really should have like a. Maybe that's a force. Maybe that's a little disrespectful. I was gonna say like that they should have a They should have like a mercy rule, but I think that's a little much. Like I think that's low key kind of disrespectful. We got some great playoff matchups. Like, so you got Boston, Philly, and then Cleveland, Milwaukee. Oh man, that Boston Philly series is going to be really good if it happens, which I anticipate it will happen. I mean, Boston has had Philly's number, Joel Embiid's number for, I don't even know how many years now. Ever since he's been in the league, to be honest. It's going to be a really, really crazy series. That's going to be tough. I could see Boston winning in 6, though, especially if James Harden, reverts to the James Harden that we all know and does his disappearing act that he's so famous for. And I mean, Joel Embiid is known for, kind of like, I hesitate to use the term breaking down, but he's known for breaking down in the late in playoff series, late in playoff games. I think Boston I think Boston would take Philly in 6, and I think Milwaukee would beat Cleveland. I think Milwaukee would beat Cleveland in 5. Maybe Cleveland is maybe Cleveland pushes it to 6 games, but I just think that Milwaukee is they have a pretty easy path to the Eastern Conference Finals. Not that the teams that they have, not that the teams that they would play aren't good, but just that team, Milwaukee, is just like a buzzsaw. They are so good behind Giannis, and I mean, I definitely don't see Toronto stopping them. I can't imagine that the Cavs, or even if the Knicks do beat the Cavs, I can't imagine the Knicks really giving Milwaukee any trouble. I think that Milwaukee-Boston Eastern Conference Finals, it'll be a rematch of last year. I think that is probably going to be the best series in the whole playoffs, even including the finals. I think that this Milwaukee-Boston rematch that I'm predicting, I think it's going to be like the best. I think it'll be the best series in this whole entire playoffs, again, including the finals. Between Milwaukee and Boston, it's tough. I mean, Milwaukee's going to have Chris Middleton, right? Yeah, I don't think anything is like wrong with Middleton. Milwaukee's going to have Middleton. Knock on wood for everybody to stay healthy. Boston's going to have more depth than they're going to have even more depth than they did last year when they played the Bucks. The Bucks are going to have Game 7 on their home floor, though, so that's obviously like a big deal. But Boston has proven that they can go into Milwaukee, and they can win. But Milwaukee has proven that they can go into Boston and win games too, like it's tough. I want to say Boston in 7 games. I think that Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown are, overall as a duo, I think they're better than Giannis and Chris Middleton. Obviously, Giannis is the best player out of all 4 of those guys, but I just think as a duo, Tatum and Brown are a lot more potent on either side of the ball. Boston has a lot of depth. They have their depth is more shored up, in my opinion, than Milwaukee. And I mean, don't get it twisted. Milwaukee has, they got some really good role players, and they got some guys who could come off the bench and get it done. But I mean, Boston's got Derek White, Malcolm Brogdon, Peyton Pritchard. I mean, they've got their own Brook Lopez and Al Horford. I mean, Brook Lopez has been having a great year, though. No disrespect to Brook Lopez. He has been exceptional this year. I think he's having actually the best career of his. I think he's having the best season of his career, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, he's been great this year. So no disrespect to Brook Lopez, but I think in these types of situations, I'll take Horford over Lopez. Horford's good, right? I don't remember. I don't recall Horford being injured or being unavailable. They've got Rob Williams, obviously. Hopefully he can stay healthy. Again, health is a big thing for Boston. That's the only thing that I think could really truly beat Boston in these playoffs is their health. Hopefully Rob Williams can be available for the majority of games, and I have to take Boston in 7. It's tough though. That's a tough pick, and I wouldn't be surprised if Milwaukee, if it went the opposite way, if Milwaukee ended up winning it in 7, it definitely wouldn't surprise me at all. I guess that means we're on to the West now. I already gave the Lakers prediction. The Lakers are just gonna smash Minnesota tonight. I feel like even with Rudy Gobert and McDaniels, they'd smash. And then you got OKC and New Orleans. I think that is a really good game. I see so many people like sleeping on people are sleeping on both of these teams. I mean, New Orleans is going to be without Zion. If I'm up to date on that situation, obviously if I'm not, you can correct me in the comments. But yeah, I think New Orleans is going to be without Zion. The Thunder are just a really solid team. Shai is good. The Thunder have a lot of youth. Obviously, they struggle they struggle with experience. That's the biggest knock really on the Thunder. There's not a lot of vets on the roster. It's going to be interesting to see how Shai carries, how Shai carries this team through that matchup. And then, because they would play the Lakers, right? If I'm looking at that correctly. No. LA would go directly to Memphis, and then Minnesota will play the winner of New Orleans and OKC. I really think the Thunder are going to get into the playoffs. I just really believe in Shai. Shai he's been so good this year. 31-5-5, if I am recalling that correctly, on pretty good shooting splits. Definitely not super inefficient shooting splits. I think the Thunder can get in. I think the Thunder will beat. Brandon Ingram is nothing to sneeze at, though, and CJ McCollum, Herb Jones, they defend. I think the I don't know. That's a tough game. The Thunder and the Pelicans is a tough game. I'm gonna take the Thunder, but the Pelicans score. They score well. They defend well, with or without Zion. But I think Shai is gonna be able to carry the Thunder into the playoffs, and then obviously they'll just get absolutely just decimated by the Nuggets. That Lakers Grizzlies matchup is really tough because I think if the Grizzlies had Steven Adams and Brandon Clark, I would pick Memphis. But it's hard. It's hard to put money against Ja Morant, though. But it's harder to put money against LeBron James. I think I'll take the Lakers in 7 games against the Grizzlies, just because the Grizzlies they're really gonna feel not. I know Brandon Clark went down with the Achilles injury. I think Steven Adams had like a shoulder injury, if I remember correctly. I think they're gonna rely on Jaren Jackson Jr. a lot, and he's a great player. Obviously, don't get it twisted. I love Jaren Jackson Jr. He's a stud, but he gets into foul trouble, and I think that LeBron, obviously, that dude's bread and butter is attacking the basket, and I think if he can get Jaren Jackson if LeBron can get Jaren Jackson in foul trouble early, and kind of play him out the game, I think. Then LeBron James can just play LeBron ball. He can just go to the rim at will, draw help, and kick hot. And, it's just about the Lakers players making their shots at that point. It's hard for the Grizzlies. It's hard for me to see the Grizzlies winning this series without their front court depth. They're gonna miss Brandon Clark. They're gonna miss Steven Adams for this series. I'm gonna take the Lakers in 7. I'll take the Lakers in 7 games because Ja Morant. I think Ja Morant is gonna play out of his mind. He's gonna need to play out of his mind for this series to go to 7 games, and I believe that he will. I'm not even a big fan of Dillon Brooks, but I think Dillon Brooks can have somewhat of an impact on this series. I think Desmond Bane. I love Desmond Bane. Obviously, he's been great. But I just think that LeBron and AD, the game plan is going to be to attack Jaren Jackson. You know, they want to get him in a foul trouble. If they can get him at 2 fouls before the end of the first quarter, it's looking rough for the Grizzlies. This is the other game, right? I mean, this is the other series. Moving on, this is the other series right here. This Golden State-Sacramento series, I said earlier that I thought Boston-Milwaukee in the Eastern Conference Finals is going to be the best series. But this Sacramento and Golden State series could really be something special. Like, first of all, there's no flights. You play 30 minutes from each other. So you're a walk away. You're a hop, skip, and a jump away from each other. So there's no jet lag. There's no fatigue from traveling. Both of these teams are, I mean, Sacramento was the best offensive team in the league this year. Their offensive rating was off the charts. We've seen what the Golden State Warriors can do, regardless of how hot or not their offense looks going into the playoffs. We know what Golden State is capable of doing. We know what Steph and Clay can do. We've seen them do it many, many times. The biggest thing with this series for me is going to be Sacramento's defense. And I know that sounds like the obvious take, but I think Sacramento's defense is not terrible. It's definitely not. They can't hang their hat on it. You know, they can't lean on it. They can't rely on it in a playoff series like this. But I think that their defense is okay. And I think if it was any other 6 seed, right? Golden State's a 6 seed? Yeah, okay. If it was any other 6 seed, I would probably pick Sacramento, but Golden State, they just have the championship pedigree. It sounds so played out and, you know, beating a dead horse and broken record, but experience goes a long way, and especially when it's playoff time, you know, when it's time to really put up. I mean, that championship experience is valuable, and I think that, you know, the Sacramento Kings is still young. You know, they had a great season, and I love that for the fan base so much. Shout out to the Sacramento fans. Shout out to any Kings fans. Like, you guys are incredible. I can't believe that you guys still exist. You know, shout out to everybody. Needs a Kings fan in their lives. These people are crazy loyal. Yeah, I think Sacramento, obviously they have like a great offense that can score with anybody. Their defense isn't terrible, but I think Golden State is going to be able to, with their experience, with Draymond and Clay and Steph, and they're gonna get Andrew Wiggins back for this series, that's a big boost because Golden State has really, really missed having Andrew Wiggins. I think with all of that into account, I mean, I'd take Golden State in 6 games, but Sacramento, man, a lot of these games are going to be close. A lot of these games are going to be really close, really high-scoring shootouts. Ultimately, I believe in Golden State's defense to, you know, solve the puzzle that is the Sacramento Kings offense, and, you know, it'll take them probably like 2 quarters to feel what the Kings are going to do. And then, you know, I mean, Draymond Green is an all-time great defensive mind. He's an all-time great defender. So Clay is no slouch. Steph is a good defender. I feel like the Warriors' experience and having Andrew Wiggins back is just going to be the X factor in this series. But again, I'm taking the Warriors in 6, but this series could really be easily, I think it could be one of the best, if not the best, of this whole postseason. Moving on, Phoenix and the Clippers is interesting. It's weird. The Clippers aren't going to have Paul George, I don't think. And the Phoenix Suns really haven't had a lot of time to play together. I mean, Kevin Durant is still doing Kevin Durant things. But Phoenix is new in terms of their roster. Like that, this is still brand new. They haven't even been playing basketball together for 3 months yet. And they're not really that deep. The Phoenix is not really, they don't really have, they gave up all their depth to go get Durant on the perimeter. So, I mean, if the Clippers had Paul George, I think I would probably take the Clippers. I don't know if Kawhi can win this series on his own. I don't know if no disrespect to, what's that dude's name? Terrence Mann. He's good. Zubac is obviously right there. Norman Powell. Like they got guys. The Clippers have guys. I just don't know if Kawhi Leonard, when it comes down to it, like superstars are going to be the difference makers in these playoff series. And I just don't know if Kawhi has what it takes to slay this three-headed monster essentially by himself. Norman Powell is no slouch, and they have guys. They got Batum. The Clippers have guys. I'm not trying to, poo-poo the Clippers, but they just, I think the smart money is on Phoenix just because, again, the Clippers is down Paul George. The Suns are not deep, and they're brand new together, but they are healthy, and they do have Kevin Durant, and they do have Devin Booker, and they do have Chris Paul, and they do have DeAndre Ayton, and, those are 4 names. Those guys start. They're going to play big minutes. I just don't know what the Clippers are going to do with those 4 names. If they had Paul George, I think I'd take the Clippers in 7, but no Paul George. I'll probably go Phoenix in 6 with no Paul George. And that's obviously, not having Paul George is really, really hurting the Clippers, especially in a matchup like this where, you're going to need, they really needed both of these guys because KD is obviously, he's KD. I'm going to take Phoenix in 6 games. No Paul George. Phoenix is healthy. Kevin Durant is Kevin Durant. Devin Booker is Devin Booker. And I don't know. It's tough to imagine. It's just tough to imagine a scenario where the Clippers win. That's my only thing. I don't think the Clippers are a bad team without Paul George. I just don't know if they can make it through this series. Like that team, those guys. I'm gonna take Phoenix in 6 games. If Kawhi Leonard beats these Phoenix Suns, though, oh man, words are gonna be said if Kawhi Leonard beats this Phoenix Suns team. That would be unreal. I wonder what Clipper would have to have like the unreal series next to Kawhi Leonard. Probably Norman Powell, obviously, would have to be averaging like 26, 5-5 on his own. Like, I mean, not on his own, but, next to whatever Kawhi is going to do, you'd probably need Norman Powell to give you like 26, 5-5 on like 47 to 51% shoot. Just some really, really crazy things would have to happen, in my opinion, for Durant and Booker and Chris Paul and DeAndre Ayton to lose to Kawhi Leonard and his pack of really, really good role players. Russ is I think Russ is a wash. I don't really see where he impacts the game positively. I mean, Kawhi being able to come off the ball is like a good thing. Russ has definitely played better since getting in Clippers uniform. He's played better, but I mean, I've never really been a big fan of Russ. He's plays like a maniac. His inefficiencies, poor decision making. He can. I don't know if I want to call it a psychological meltdown at the end of games, because I don't think. I think he's mentally tough to the point where like pressure don't really get to him like that. But I do think he does make errant passes, errant decisions sometimes in the later quarters and in the bigger moments of games. And he just like refuses to learn from it. He just won't watch tape and critique himself. So yeah, I think I'm going to give this to Phoenix in 6 games. But again, if they had PG, I'm probably taking the Clippers, but they don't. So I want to take Phoenix in 6. Then you would have the Lakers. The Lakers at the Warriors would be something. That would, right? Hold on. Let me make sure I'm reading this bracket right. Yeah. Yes. The 6 and the 7 seed would play, and then the 1 and the 4 seed would play. Yeah. Okay. So this Lakers Golden State series, I'm predicting. Now that I'm thinking about it, this is another series that has like the potential to be like, it has the same potential vibes to me as like the Sacramento Golden State series and the Boston Milwaukee series. Golden State is just, they're such a polarizing team this year. They really haven't been their normal Golden State selves this year. Part of that is obviously missing Andrew Wiggins. Part of that is that, Steph and Clay just struggling. Draymond certainly just, he's went through his struggles this regular season. Jordan Poole hasn't been awful, but he hasn't been like transcendently good where he can just like null, like, oh, you're having a bad night, like I'm just gonna go for 25, we'll be good. Like he hasn't hit that level yet. And with no bigs, I mean, with really they don't have like a JaVale McGee. They don't have like, it's going to be tough. I mean, they got Draymond, but it's going to be tough to stop LeBron from going to the rim. Damn, am I about to pick the Lakers over the Warriors? Like, again, health is my issue, but the Warriors don't really have like a big that can like, help deter LeBron at the rim. Again, they got Draymond. He's a incredible defender. I guess LeBron isn't incapable of finishing over Draymond though. The Lakers are going to have to be on defensively though. They're really going to have to be on their shit defensively because Steph and Clay and Jordan Poole they're gonna be running off so many actions. Steph's movement without the ball is second to none. I mean, all 3 of them can really just put the ball in the basket, in many different ways at any given time. The Lakers defense is going to have to be on. Anthony Davis is going to have to be really good. He's going to have to dance on the perimeter, and he's going to have to hustle. I don't think I've seen the Lakers like really locked in like that this year. That's why I'm like hesitating, even though I want to pick the Lakers, because again, the Warriors don't have like that, bruiser. They don't have like that JaVale McGee, Festus Ezeli. Like, they don't have a dude like that. But I don't think I've seen the Lakers really lock in mentally as a team the way they're going to have to lock in to like stop this Golden State offense. This is so tough. And you don't want to pick against Steph, but you also don't want to pick against Bron. Both these guys are insane. If it came down to it, I would pick the Lakers. I would pick the Lakers just because, the Warriors is going to get Andrew Wiggins back, though. I just have not seen the Lakers lock in defensively the way that they would need to, even though LeBron is going to have, and AD too, like they don't really have a big that can guard AD. Like AD should go off every night. It's really it's a coin toss to me, honestly. I think it's safe to go with the Warriors. Warriors in 7, just because they're going to get Andrew Wiggins back. So they're going to be way more switchy on the defensive end of the ball. I think Wiggins in LeBron's hip pocket, and then when he gets to the rim, he's got to see Draymond too. Even though, again, they don't have like a bona fide, certified bruiser, I think that the combined efforts of Draymond and Andrew Wiggins, I think that's enough to make sure LeBron is just having a bad time the entire night. So I got Golden State in 7 over the Lakers. That's going to be a really, really good series. So then it's Denver and Phoenix. And I just think Denver is, again, Phoenix is, they're a baby in terms of like, being a cohesive basketball team. They haven't even been playing basketball together for like 3 months. So I think that Denver just being the more well-oiled machine, there's just more chemistry going on over there on both ends of the ball, offense and defense. Denver's got more depth, I feel like, than Phoenix. Maybe Kevin Durant and Devin Booker can just outscore. Maybe they can just outproduce on offense. Maybe they can just produce more positive outcomes on offense over Jokic and Jamal Murray. But I just think, the Nuggets, when Jokic is a well-oiled machine, the Nuggets are a well-oiled machine on both ends of the ball, but particularly offensively. And I don't know if the Suns have the defense and I don't know if they have the chemistry to consistently string together stops against Denver's offense that, Nikola Jokic he needs no introduction. And he has shown in the playoffs that he is a defensive liability and he can be picked apart defensively, but he's improved. And the Denver Nuggets do that weird switching scheme where they like pre-switch away from Jokic so that they can like get him away from being trapped in pick and roll hell. And so, it's tough. This is another tough game, but I'm gonna I will tentatively pick the Nuggets in 5 games, but I think that is going to be close. And again, I'm not trying to disrespect anybody on either end, because both of these teams have fantastic players up and down the roster. But I just think Denver's chemistry on both sides of the ball, but particularly offensively, I think Jokic has been playing great. And I don't know if the Suns have the chemistry themselves offensively to really lock in and exploit what, Denver's weaknesses would be on the defensive side of the ball. So I'm going to take Denver in 5, which would put us at a Western Conference final matchup of the Warriors and the Nuggets, a rematch from last year. I think I got to give it to the Nuggets this time, just because the Warriors, again, like that lack of like a true big is really going to hurt them. They don't really have a lot of bodies that they can just like throw at Jokic and like bang into him, get him working, fatigued. They're not going to have they don't have that privilege. So I mean, Jokic is really just going to be able to do whatever he wants, essentially. Again, Draymond is a great defender. He's no slouch, and I mean, there will certainly be times where Draymond will get the better Jokic. I'm not even saying that that's necessarily false, but I think that this Warriors team has they have the experience. I was going to say that the Warriors team, this has been a really turbulent season for them. How is their chemistry going into situations like this? But that team they are just full of veterans and rich with experience. If there's any team that could overcome the season they have and overcome a team like the Denver Nuggets right now, you would be hard pressed to find another dude like Golden State. With that being said, I just don't know if they have anybody that can consistently, can you stop Jokic 6 times in a row? You're going to have to string stops together to beat Denver. You're going to have to slow down their offense. Do you have the personnel where if you go up the floor 6 times, defensively, do you have, can you stop him 4 times out of 6 times? Do the Warriors have that personnel? Andrew Wiggins is a fantastic defender, and again, Draymond Green's an all-time great. Clay's no slouch. Steph's no slouch. But I don't know if the Warriors have I don't know if they're built of the stuff that it's going to take to beat Denver. I am tentatively going to take Denver in 7 games. I will tentatively take Denver in 7 games, but it's tough to bet against Steph Curry, man. He is eventually I'm going to put a video up here of my top 10 players and explain. Curry's 10 on my list right now for top 10 players. The dude is just incomparable, and it's hard to bet against him. But I think this year is Jokic's time to break through. His roster has been kind of banged up his last couple trips into the playoffs, and then the bubble against the Lakers, he didn't really play super fantastically. He definitely didn't play horribly, but he didn't play up to his standard. And yeah, I just think that Jokic is just going to come out on a mission, and I don't know if Golden State has the personnel to stop Jokic in this new mode that I feel like he's going to be in. So I would take the Nuggets in 7 games, but that series is also going to be, Golden State is going to be a part of some really, really, really great series this postseason. So I guess that's Celtics Nuggets finals. This is going to be a hell of a finals. I feel like Boston, because they got Horford, they got Williams, they got bodies, they got they got big bodies that they could throw at Jokic. They're going to be able to exploit this team defensively on the perimeter. Obviously Tatum is a bona fide superstar. Jaylen Brown is right there. I don't know if Aaron Gordon could guard either of those guys. I don't know how effective Aaron Gordon is even going to be offensively, other than, cutting and getting easy dunks. I don't know if he's going to create his own shot on either of the wings or Marcus Smart. The Celtics, they just have multiple guys that can just run the offense. They have multiple guys that can just play off the ball. They're an intelligent team, especially on the defensive side. They're really well coached. We'll see how we'll see how what's his name, Joe Lazul something. We'll see how Boston's head coach fares this postseason. Obviously, if he fares well, I think Boston is going to try to keep him. But I just Denver. I don't know if Denver is going to have an answer for Tatum or Brown. I mean, they got KCP, so I don't think they're going to be lost on the perimeter, but I do think they're still exploitable on the perimeter. I mean, Aaron Gordon's game is definitely taking a step in the right direction. Jamal Murray and Marcus Smart is a wad, or like I can't say like, oh, Jamal Murray is going to get the best of this guy or this guy or this guy, because it really just feels like Boston has like 4 dudes in their starting rotation that they can all just like switch on and off of your best player. I don't know if and not only that, if Jokic had to unimpeded, if Jokic had to carry the Nuggets to this championship, I might be able to buy that, but I just think, the Celtics size is going to be really hard on Jokic. I don't know if he's going to be able to get really comfy and, be able to really like play his game in a way that makes you win playoff. Like, obviously Jokic is a superstar. He's going to get to his spots, but I don't know. I don't know if Jokic is going to be able to play at a level that, you can win NBA finals. Like, I think Jokic is going to have to carry, because I think Jamal Murray is probably just, he's a wash. And I mean, I love Peyton Watson, but I can't even believe I just said his name. Like, Michael Porter Jr. is really going to have to do something crazy. Like, Boston they are so intelligent defensively, and they are so deep, and they don't beat themselves most of the time. And I mean, I got to take Boston in 6 against Denver. Again, maybe if Jokic just has like an insane finals, like literally a triple-double on 75% true shooting, something like that, maybe he could pull it out. But yeah, I'm going to take Boston. I'll take Boston in 6 games. I might as well just put my Finals MVP prediction in here too. I think Tatum is going to win Finals MVP. We gotta see Tatum step up his level of play though. He struggled last year in the finals. He wasn't terrible. I think people were overreacting a little bit, but you really want to see Tatum step up, hit some of these shots that, he missed last year in the finals. If Tatum does a disappearing act again, then maybe the Nuggets could pull it out. Maybe they could pull it out in 7. But I'm going to assume that Tatum isn't going to fold or buckle, like he did against the Warriors. And I think him, Jaylen Brown, Derek White, Malcolm Brogdon, I think that Rob Williams, I think that these dudes, they're just deep. They're smart. They don't beat themselves. They can score the basketball in multiple ways. They have multiple people who can get the offense going. They have multiple people that can score off the ball. I'm going to take Boston as 6. I think Boston is finally going to win, that NBA championship that's been eluding them since, the one that Pierce and Ray Allen and Garnett won. And Boston has been knocking on the door for really like 5-6 years at this point. I think this is a year for Boston. I think they're gonna break through, and I think they'll win. I think Boston is gonna be our NBA champs at the end of this season. But do you agree with me? Do you think that I sound stupid? Let me know in the comments below, because like I said, I'm always excited to talk with the NBA community and hear your critiques of my opinions or why you agree with my opinions. And so definitely let me know in the comments below, who do you think is going to win the NBA finals, or do you agree with me? Why do you agree with me? If you like what you hear, I'd really appreciate you dropping a like on a video, and also hitting the subscribe button too. That would be really great. I would really appreciate that. Thank you for giving me your time. Everybody's time is so valuable. So I appreciate anybody, taking the time to sit down and listen to me talk about sports. I appreciate that so much. Thank you very much for listening. I hope you have a really good day.